Are you ready? Well, if you're not, or if you're thinking you might need to get ready, hold on, don't go anywhere. This is Sister Pharaoh with the Swords of St. Michael, and we're going to talk about what is yet to come, what might not come, but you're going to be prepared. So sit right back and hold on. Like I said, this is Sister Pharaoh, professed Franciscan lay. So, you're new here. We have a channel here that is attempting to bring you all sorts of information, ghostology, demonology, and spiritual warfare. Lots of videos. Check them out. If you'd like, subscribe. Put the bell notice on. You'll get notices every time I do a new show. Tonight's show, we're going to focus on, like I said, let's get ready. Let's get ourselves prepared. The show is inspired by two things tonight because I'm going to go off on my meditation moment. We're going to talk about Luke 12:39 through 48 because if the master of the house knew the hour that the thief were to appear, he would have been ready. Let's pray ourselves in, and we're going to talk about what else we need to do to be prudent, wise, and be prepared. In nomine Patri et Filio et Spiritus Sanctus, sic erat in principio et nunc et semper et saecula saeculorum. Sancta Michael Arcangele, defende nos in prelio, contra nequitiam et insidiis diaboli est presidium. Imperit ille Deus, supplices te pecamur tuque, princeps militia celestis et animaliosque spiritus malignos, qui apparitionem animarum pervegantur in mundo divina virtute, in infernum detrude. Amen. So what is it we're talking about? Tonight, here at Swords of St. Micah, we're going to talk about perhaps the most momentous, or maybe the biggest nothing burger of our lives. Okay, we don't know. It hasn't happened yet. We've got about a week and a half, and this show is inspired by a number of people who have contacted me via Swords of St. Michael and via direct contact, saying, hey, you know what? Anything could happen. What would you do? What do you suggest if such and such were to happen as we round up to an election cycle that could be a very volatile one? Either way, no matter which way it goes, because I'm not going to say the vote, because we've seen in the past that votes can be stolen, burned, lost. So I'm going to say either way that the decision is made, God's already got this. The battle's been won. However, you and I get to live here. We have to prepare to take care of the loved ones that depend on us. Our pets, our spouses, our children. So hopefully if you are inquiring, what can we do? We really haven't thought about it. Maybe haven't thought about being prepared. What if worst case scenario happens? What if martial law is declared? What if everything shuts down with a major blackout and the power grid goes down? Nobody has a crystal ball with any accuracy. God's already got the plan. So let's just take a look into and unpack the inspiration of the gospel, and then some common sense things that, as my grandma would say, keep your friends close, honey. Keep your enemies closer. And always pack a lunch in that trunk and take a couple extras. So, our gospel today is Luke 12:39. And in this gospel, we have a teaching of Jesus that is very, very important today because it points out a lot of things that we don't think about. Most of us are definitely grasshoppers enjoying the fruits of our labor, travel, kids, hobbies, and we don't really think about, well, that stuff could happen, but chances are it's not. We've got We live in a great land. For those of you that do not live in the United States, a lot of people have lived under an umbrella of everything's okay. We've got lots of stuff coming in. We've got lots of stuff going out. It all balances out. We're going to be taken care of. We've got great programs for any need that covers anything and anyone. And sadly, that's been really taxed with the import of a lot of things that we will just call extraneous imports that are about to break the system. Because some things you cannot say on YouTube, people, and I'm not about to say those words that are going to get me demonetized. Why? Because this is a ministry. Sister Fair here at Swords of St. Michael does work for you. God first. In this gospel message, we are told of a servant that heard his master was delayed. He was a good servant. He was taking care of everybody, but he found out the master was not going to be home on time. So what did he do? He decided to beat the other servants into making them do what they were supposed to do. Drank, had a good time, ate too much food. The master came home, beat him senseless. Boom, he was out. In the moral of the story, Jesus is telling them that you don't know the hour of the Son of Man returning. You have no idea. We can all look to all these seers and prophets and everything else, saying, oh yeah, the Lord's coming. We know specifically by reading Revelations what to look for, but we don't know the hour. In this passage in Gospel of Luke, we're told that we must be ready. We must always be ready, as if Jesus is going to come right down our street and say, hey, it's time to go home. And hopefully, some of the videos that I prepared for you here, whether it is in some of the spiritual teachings, in some of the meditation moments, are giving you pause to think, what can I do to clean out my spiritual closet and be ready? Who have I not forgiven? What have I left undone? How can I make amends with those that I've hated? That I don't really need to waste the time or the energy. I can just leave them to God. God's got a much better discipline planned. In the end of Luke's gospel, before I get into this, I just wanted to point out that we are all given specific things. And I'm not talking about Porsches. I'm not talking about diamonds. I'm not talking about land or generational wealth. We're all given situations, talents, and certain times. And when one is given much, much is expected. To the people that have been given extra and that have greater responsibilities, greater gifts, greater wealth, much more is expected out of them. What does that mean for us? That's our meditation moment into the next part. When we look at what we've been given, when we take inventory, spiritual inventory, physical inventory, we have a lot of blessings to count. We have so much to be thankful for. And I do know that there's quite a few of you out there that struggle with sadness, depression, anxiety, suffer from food insufficiency, not knowing if you're going to be able to continue to pay your rent because of job insecurity. These kind of things, these are very difficult to live with. And this is something that only our willpower and the strength to continue to go on, coupled with God, we're going to get through this together. In order to prepare for what may or may not come, I've been asked to put together just a little bucket list. And that's why this video got titled 7 Tips to Survive VoteMeggedon. Why? Because I think that we all need to have just a top 7 of what we can do, what we might need. A lot of people years ago, and I'm talking 40, 50 years ago, everybody had a pantry. Everybody, it wasn't even a second thought. women of the house had a place where they stored extra food, where they stored produce, where they stored garden vegetables, where they buy extra vegetables. It was a rare house that did not have a separate place to store goods long term, non-perishable goods. It was also typical for any man of the household to have extra things that he needed: tools, gasoline, backup parts for whatever he might need. Today, as I said, I believe we've been lulled into this sense of safety that we can get anything we need at any time we want. Boom, press a button and it's instantly here from any number of suppliers: Amazon, eBay, Etsy. There's so many online. Boom, boom, you got it. So why do we need to think about maybe having a little bit extra? Now, I'm not talking about hoarding. There's a big difference here. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to be a hoarder. I'm not going to go do this or go do that. Let's just look at the last, how about 5 years? I can go back a lot farther, but what was there a rush on? Toilet paper. Hello? Toilet paper is not water. Toilet paper is not food. You cannot barter toilet paper. If we're going to talk about a situation that might happen, that might not happen, but is pretty bloody imminent in my opinion, such as martial law, there will be no constitution. There will be little fiefdoms. There will be a lot of tears. There is nothing, and I'm not trying to scare you, there's really nothing that is going to make any of us be 100% prepared for whatever may happen. So we're just going to do the best we can, and we're going to talk about the top 7. I'm going to try not to go on so much and not pontificate, because that's what I do sometimes. As my husband says, I get passionate and I go on a little, get wordy, but I'll try and get it short. Number one, and I love it, okay, because I sit down, I talk to my husband, okay, got to throw a show together. What do we do here? He says, get right with Jesus. What does that mean? To many, it means different things. I mean, to us as Catholics, it means get on your knees before you go to sleep every single night and confess to God whatever it is you did, whoever you upset, and get it clear off your conscience. For other people, it may be, if I'm going to get right with God, if I'm going to get right with Jesus, I better get baptized. You need the power and the protection of Jesus Christ first and foremost in your life. Whatever it means to you right now, do it. 2, the protection of Jesus is good. Jesus never said, don't put aside money for your family. Don't not protect your family. Don't do this and don't do that. So when we think about getting, number 1, protection with Jesus, the second one is protect yourself and your family. And I can't talk about those pew-pews. I can't talk about anything like that because I don't want to get demonetized. But you need to know what you're willing to do, what it's going to take to protect you and your family, and the resources I'm going to talk about. 2 is going to be water. Human beings cannot live without water. We can go out. Food, I mean, most of us, we're pretty porky. We can live without food for quite a long time. Water, nope, not so much. And what could happen if martial law, if our water supply was stopped, compromised? You're going to need extra water bottles, 3-gallon water bottles, get a rain barrel, water tablets that will clean your water at the camping supply, pick some up. Who knows? Maybe you're going to want to go camping and you might need some of those water cleansing tablets. Those are very, very important. Along with water, our bodies need salt. Water and salt. I know so many people joined this whole OMAD fasting thing years ago and got super sick. Why? Because they thought, water fasting, air fasting is so healthy. We can't live without salt. You can water fast. You can dry fast. Dry fast is pretty hard. However, your brain function, your lymphatic function, all of these will fail without the minute microscopic minerals in sea salt. Celtic sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, you got to have salt. So what do I recommend you get? 10 to 50 pounds is a good start. If you're going to prepare for your family, do what you need. Also, with that salt and water, if you can get yourself a charcoal filter, can't hurt. That way, if anything happens to your water, you want to go camping, you had a charcoal filter to take with you. Another thing my husband reminded me in reference to water, forget the toilet paper, get a bidet. For many, 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 many years, I don't know how humanity survived without toilet paper. Water and cloths. Pretty simple. Number 3, my favorite, food. Glorious food. Okay, now, when we're talking about food, we're talking about things you eat. You know, a lot of times people think, well, I want to get prepared. I want to store something in my pantry that's going to be long-term, etc. Don't buy stuff you're not going to eat. Don't buy stuff you're going to go, ugh, I'm never touching that. Get stuff that you know your family is going to eat. And I made a simple list, and it's all going to be typed and down in the description for you. So in case you missed this, or in case you don't want to listen to me going on, it's going to be down there. Like I said earlier, folks, give this video a like and share if you can. This is Sister Pharaoh, Swords of St. Michael. We talk a lot about spiritual warfare. This is the warfare of preparing for disaster for your family, okay? 3 is food. You're going to look for non-perishable things like beans, rice, flour, sugar, oats, apple cider vinegar, lard, olive oil, and the best things, Everclear. Why would I tell you to buy alcohol? Because having a bottle of Everclear and having a horrible gash, a nasty injury, Everclear is just immediate antiseptic. It cleans it up in a heartbeat. Also, things that you like, get yourself potatoes. If you have a cool place to store them in, get yourself a few bags of potatoes. If you don't know how to can, learn how to can. There's all sorts of water bath canners. You don't have to have a specific canner. You know what? Some of the poorest people I know, you know how they can? With rolls of aluminum foil in the bottom of a pan and boil with their little cans. It's not difficult. You just have to make the time to do it. And I know I'm talking to myself. Other things you can do is when you think things are going to be on sale, and if you're really, really worried, please don't. We've only got 2 weeks to go do a couple grocery store trips and, buy some pork roasts and things to put in our freezer, for our kids, vegetables and stuff. Be sensible. Don't go overboard. Buy what you need and get a little extra. That's all you got to do. Just get that little extra every time. But vinegar is very important. Apple cider vinegar. These things are so healing. They're food. They're antibacterial. You can use them to clean. Baking soda is really important to clean, and it's really difficult to cook and bake without baking soda and baking powder. Those are things you've got to have stored in your pantry. 4, communications. Now, when things get bad, I don't know if any of you remember what happened when part of the grid went down. I was in Michigan at a hockey arena, and all of a sudden, all the cell phones went out. I went to go to the front desk to see if I can use them. Oh, no, our phones are out. And I'm like, this is weird. Very strange. This could happen again very easily at any time from any sunspot. It doesn't have to necessarily be a VoteMeggedon situation. So make sure that you and your loved ones, you have a list of their names, their numbers. If they have citizens bands, you have their names. Make sure that you have a clock, or not a clock, but an emergency radio with a crank. No batteries needed, because batteries are nice. They'll last so long. But hey, if you got a crank radio, you can stay in touch. Also, my fave is just a home citizens band radio. Unless you've got them in your car, that's fine. You can always bring them inside. Communications are going to be very, very important. If you do not have a way to power these things, such as a generator, get a solar panel if you can, just to back up your freezer, your refrigerator, the most important things that you need, whatever it is that you need to stay and keep your family safe. Now, Number 5 is super important, and I'm going to give you a couple of names of places that you can go besides your local doctor in case you have to have extra heart medication, extra asthma medication. These are important things. People think that, oh my gosh, even if the worst, my hospital's going to have this. No, they're not. If we go to martial law, I guarantee you the number one thing, they're going to make sure that those hospitals take care of what the government needs first, not the community. You have to take care of you and your family. What does this mean? It doesn't mean freak out. It means make sure you got a little bit extra. So you can go online and look up Jace Case. I'll see if I can find a link and put it down below. And there's also the wellness company or the wellness plan. They basically do the same thing. You get your prescriptions and you go through this process, interview, and they will prescribe your meds that are prescribed by your doctor so that you can have extra, whether it's your heart medication, your diabetes medication, whatever it is. Don't be without. In the last 8 months, I will tell you, I've been recovering from back surgery, and quite a few times they've been out of my medication. I've known so many people, and we're not close to VoteMeggedon yet. We're not close to anything resembling any kind of form of martial law yet, and we're seeing that there's some problems in supply. So why would you not want to be prepared? You can always cycle through and use what's old and then replace what's old. I've got a system for that. I'm going to tell you about that later. Okay, so medicines. You got to get the stuff that the kids and you guys are going to need. Common cold stuff. Your cold, your allergy, headache, constipation, antidiarrheal, pain reliefs, your acetaminophen. And you've got to have your alcohol and your hydrogen peroxide. My husband likes to use the vinegar in his ear. I am a hydrogen peroxide person. This is so good for staving off sinus infections, headaches, earaches, or if you feel like you're coming down with something, use the hydrogen peroxide. 10 minutes one ear, 10 minutes the other. Drain, 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 dry, dry. You're fine. Common earaches, blow dryer. Got to have power for that. All right, so with the medicines, you want to have a first aid kit. What do I mean by a first aid kit? If you're not just familiar with a common, everybody gets cuts and stuff. What it's about, it's really deep. What do? You don't want to put butter in it or coconut oil or something stupid like that. You want to figure out, how am I going to treat this? So get yourself a little first aid booklet or some kind of kit that has everything in it. Maybe a couple needles, a little suture kit, scissors, bandages, just something that you have in case of emergency. Because if something really bad does happen, those hospitals are going to be overwhelmed, overloaded, and I guarantee you, your problem is not going to be as important to them as it is to you. And it could take days to weeks to months for you to be seen. That's not good. Take care of yourself. Also, in your emergency first aid kit, you need and you must have matches. Put your matches in a jar with a striker. Right in that jar. Tighten it up. It's good. Waterproof. It's nice to have all the little, instant lighters everywhere. What happens when you run out of fuel? I like matches, so we've got both. Also, you want to make sure you have candles where people know where they are, either in every room, etc., etc. Make sure you have plenty of those too. Candles are great. They can be used in little pottery pots. And with also crayons are really good if you need to create heat. But I'm not talking about everything here. I'm just going to talk about emergency stuff. So also you want to have in your emergency medical kit, you want to make sure that you have maps. Why maps? If you and your family need to get in the car and you need to go somewhere, you need maps. Your GPS may not work. You've got your emergency stuff, your medicines, and whatever your family, have maps to your state, wherever your family is, etc. Like I was saying earlier, fuel is important. If we go into any kind of emergency situation in martial law, those gas stations are going to be closed. You're not going to be able to get propane. You're not going to be able to get gasoline. So have a few, 5-gallon, 10-gallon things. And they have those gas stablers. Put a gas stablers. It's good for 3 to 6 months. I don't remember. We do it all the time. But number 6, plan for power outages. What do I mean by this? Expect that your power will be interrupted. And sometimes in martial law situations, especially overseas, what you see a lot of is they turn the power off on purpose. It's called curfew. All power goes out, nobody on the street gets shot on sight. I'm not saying that's going to happen here in America. But if it does, you must have the mindset to be ready and protect your family. So if you're going to plan for a power outage, what are you going to need? You need blankets, jackets. Do you know how you're going to heat your home? Do you know how you're going to seal it up? Do you have the ability to board up your windows? What can you do? Make yourself a little 5-point plan how you're going to handle the power, the lights going out. What are you going to cook on? Where are you going to cook? How are you going to cook? What are you going to use? Knowing that ahead of time, you don't have to worry in case something happens. People are going to be coming to you for help. Okay, and finally, last but not least, number 7, you must invest your trust in trustworthy people, your family, your church family, like-minded people. You must have that circle of friends, and you must keep them close. What do I mean by that? Have a plan. Talk to people that you know and you love, and make that plan so that everybody's on the same page. You know who's got what, who's doing what, who's going to whose house, who has babies, who has elderly, who's taking care of who. These are things you need to think about now. And if you waited this long, there's no time like the present. We've only got a couple weeks to one of the most momentous periods of our life and tipping scale we could be witnessing in this time. And this is going to be one of those things that I don't think anybody really is comfortable with. Even the people that I know that have been prepping for years and that think, oh yeah, I've got this covered, I got security covered, I got my family, and they're this and they're that, and I can call them, whatever. Nobody's prepared. When a real emergency hits, we're all going to be trying to tick those boxes off one at a time. So take yours off now. Figure out among all these 7, you need Christ, water, food, communication, medicines. Plan for these power outages and invest in those people that you need to rely on. And as always, don't forget, God's got the plan. The battle's already been won. And hopefully, Sister Farrah here, Surge of St. Michael, give us a like. Hopefully you subscribe and turn on those bell notifications. We're going to help you fight the fight and win it right. Thank you so much for bearing with me this week as we try to plan and get our spiritual warfare and everything else and get ready for VoteMeggedon coming soon. God bless you and good night.